Hello, welcome to the Musical Grant Program for 2015. My name is Nicole Lungerhausen and I'm the grant coordinator for the program. Today we're going to be talking about the guidelines for the MGP as relates to composer applicants. So a little bit of background about the program itself. The program was created in 2008 with several goals in mind. One is that it acts as a catalyst for creative musical projects. It raises the profile of local composers and artists and musicians. And it creates opportunities for local audiences to experience the really incredible diversity of music that's here in the Bay Area. The program supports projects in early music, chamber music, new music, jazz, and creative music. So we have a very broad definition of chamber music itself. And the program has awarded more than $425,000 to 159 projects since 2008. And as a side note, if you go to the SFFCM website, .org website, you will find a list of all of the projects that we have awarded, the MGP has awarded since 2008, with both amounts and detailed descriptions of what the projects were. Okay, so if you're a composer, how do you qualify? You can apply in one of two ways as a composer applicant. You can apply as a lead performing artist in an ensemble playing the original composition. So you would be basically a member of this ensemble and be creating a work for the ensemble. The second way you can apply is as a composer of a new work commissioned by an eligible ensemble. So it would be an outside group who would be coming to you and asking you to write a work for them. You must propose a music project that includes the participation of one or more ensembles defined by SFFCM as a group of two or more musical performers, and this can be either instrumentalists or singers, each playing one on a part without a conductor. A lot of people have questions because they typically, or quite often, we see projects that involve multiple partners. And usually, in case for composers, it's a situation where a composer is being commissioned by either an ensemble or a presenter, and then presenting that work as part of a series or a special event for a presenter. And people want to know, is that okay if a project involves multiple partners? And yes, absolutely, it is. We do welcome projects with multiple partners, but all the partners involved in the project must meet all of the eligibility requirements that I'll talk about on the next page, on page 5. The last thing to know is that we do have a one application rule, and what that means is if you're a composer and you find yourself in a situation where you have two different ensembles who have come to you and asked you to commission work for them, you would need to decide which application you would be a part of, because you couldn't submit as a composer for both. There is an exception to this. So let's say that you are a composer and an ensemble has approached you to create a work, but you also are a performer for another ensemble and they want to apply to the MGP for a completely different project, say like a performance of some sort that doesn't necessarily involve the creation of new work. In that case, you could be a part of two different applications. But I highly recommend that if you do find yourself in that situation, you give me, send me an email and contact me and let me know what that is so that I can help guide you as to how to go about applying. And my contact information will be given out at the end of the webinar. Okay, so these are the other things that you need to know before applying. These are our other eligibility requirements that you should be aware of. If you are a first-time applicant, You must confirm your eligibility and talk about your project with an SFFCM staff member, and we'll give out instructions for how to do so at the end of the webinar. You must show a significant performance history, or really, I guess in the case of composers, this would be a history of composing, having your work performed, premiered, etc. And there's a separate webinar that goes into how to talk about your performance history and how to lay that out within the application. So if you have questions about this, I highly recommend watching that particular webinar. You need to reside and work in one of the 15 counties of the greater San Francisco Bay Area and present your project in one or more of these counties. Your annual budget should be, as an applicant, should be under $100,000. And just to remind you, these eligibility requirements I'm talking about now, they're applicable for cases where you have a project that involves multiple partners. This is applicable not just to you as a lead applicant, but to all your partners that are involved, all of these requirements that I'm laying out here. You need to be 18 plus years of age and a U.S. citizen or have legal resident permit status. And if you are a past grantee, you need to make sure that you submit your report on your last project by January 31st, 2015 in order to reapply. And I'm sorry, if you were a 2014 MGP grantee, you need to wait a whole year before reapplying. And this would apply to every person involved in your project or every partner involved in your project, and if you have a project with multiple partners. So let's say that you have been asked by an ensemble to commission a work, but that ensemble received MGP funding in 2014. Unfortunately, they would not be eligible to apply. Okay, so what expenses will the MGP grant support? The biggest thing to know is that we fund project-based grants only. So we will fund, commissioning, performance, recording, things like that, where there is you have a specific project in mind with some specific end goal. And then here's a list of all of the things that we will support for applications coming from composers. So we'll support composer fees for creating the work. We'll support copying costs, music copying costs, artist performance and rehearsal fees, PR and marketing costs that are specific to the project. We won't support just general marketing for yourself as a composer. We'll support sound and video recording costs. If you need money to support the venue cost of where you'll end up premiering performance, we will support that. Other direct production costs can also be supported. And in terms of the grant award, the awards are up to $3,000, and then in the cases of commissioning, the awards are up to $4,000. This next piece is really important to know when you're thinking about planning your project. The grant period is July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2017. And that means that your project activities should start no earlier than July 1st of 2015 and then end no later than June 30th, 2017. So we give you a really nice big 2-year window in order to complete your project. Okay, so when is the deadline? It will be Friday, February 13th, 2015, and that's a postmark deadline. That means you have to get it into the mailbox on that day. Please send it by mail only. We don't accept applications in person, and we really discourage people from using like FedEx or UPS or overnight mail just because of the expense. Getting a postmark from the post office is perfectly fine. And so when will you know if you've received a grant? The awards will be announced in mid-April of 2015. Okay, so if you have any further questions, there are a number of ways to get in touch with us or to get your questions answered. First, we have an FAQ that we have up on the website. Very extensive, has a lot of questions that have come up for us over the past 6 years of producing this program. So I strongly recommend that you refer to that. Again, if you're a first-time applicant, have never applied for the MGP before, you need to speak with a SFFCM staff member prior to submitting an application so we can talk to you about your eligibility, ask you some questions about the project, just help you make sure that you're on the right track with your application. And you want to visit the link that's posted here and then click on it to schedule a phone appointment with us. If you're a returning applicant, you have a couple of different choices. You can either book an appointment with a staff member based on the link above, or you can email me directly at mgp@sffcm.org. All right, this brings us to the end of our webinar for the guidelines for composers. Thank you very much, and I wish you best of luck with your applications.